Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to another episode of the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, Season 7, Episode 9. All right. We are on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night. So be sure to like, follow, and most importantly, subscribe. Hit that bell. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. Also, if you like listening to it on the audio side, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung, we're everywhere. So go ahead and subscribe there. You can catch all of the episodes of the X Factor Sportz Podcast there. We're over 80 episodes in. We're in season 7. Go ahead and catch up and listen through the journey of where we have gotten today and where we've come from over the last couple years. All right. Real talk, unbiased takes. So thank y'all for tuning in. We got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about March Madness, of course, the men's and women's side. I'm going to show y'all my bracket again from last week. We saw the Sweet 16. We predicted already who we had going to the Final Four and the Elite Eight. Now I'm going to show you the bracket as it stands today and who we have winning the national championship on the men's and women's side. Also, NBA. We got about 6-7 games left before the playoffs start or the play-in tournament starts this month. We are in April. Hope you had a good April Fool yesterday. So we're going to talk about sleeper teams in the NBA playoffs who can actually make a legitimate run. All right. Well, before we get started, we always get into y'all favorite, that quick news. So we start off quick with the women's side of March Madness, ladies first. All right. So congrats to the Final Four. It has been set. We got UConn, you got South Carolina, UCLA, and Texas. Congrats to all the women's teams that made it. Really wish we could have got to see Paige Buckers and Juju Watkins go at it in the Elite Eight. Juju got hurt, tore ACL. She'll be back next season. And UConn obviously moves on to the Final Four. So later on in the show, we're going to talk about who we got winning on both sides. But congrats to these ladies for making it. Dawn Staley, 5th straight Final Four appearance, looking to go back-to-back after winning a national championship last year. So congrats to her. I think it'll be her 4th national championship if she wins it. So that's big news. Obviously, Gina Auriemma, women's college basketball is synonymous with UConn. He's got a chance to win another national title. Paige Buckers got a chance to write her name in history of UConn women's basketball lore. Can't really consider her one of the best to play at UConn if she don't have a ring. So we'll see how that goes as well. All right. On the men's side, Houston, Duke, Florida, Auburn. Final Four, all chalk, number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four. First time this has happened since 2008, where we had 4 number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four. So congrats to those teams. John Shire and Duke making it to their 18th Final Four. They're tied for 2nd all-time with UCLA. And John Shire is looking to become the first player to win a national championship and to coach a national championship and win one with his alma mater. So we'll see if they can make history as well. Auburn making it to their 2nd ever Final Four. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll see what happens. All right. And like I said, later we're going to get into who we got winning. On to the NFL, though. The NFL, the owners have met over the last couple days. They always do their owners' meetings. They vote on rules and things they want to see changed in the NFL. 2 things. Number 1, 16 teams have voted for the tush push to be banned, which is ridiculous to me. And I'm not surprised that Green Bay and Matt LaFleur was one of the teams that was saying they don't like it. It's a rugby play, yada, yada, yada. I'm not surprised about Green Bay doing that. It's not like the Eagles are the reason y'all ain't making it to the Super Bowl. Like, you can't blame it on that. So, and majority of the teams are probably NFC teams, right? It only makes sense because the Eagles are in the NFC, and these teams are trying to get past them to get to a Super Bowl, so they blame it on this tush push, which I think is garbage. But I like the coaches. Shout out to Aaron Glenn. He's a new head coach of the Jets. DeMeco Ryans, coaches like that are saying, Our job is to figure out how to stop this play. It's been a great play offensively. Our job is to put together a defense to stop it. For example, teams that have mobile quarterbacks, right? It's within the rules. The tush push is within the rules. You can push your players forward to get first downs. Until Jalen Hurts gets hurt on this play or somebody gets hurt, I don't think they should even bring it into question about banning the play, right? You're able to move the line of scrimmage, and they have the personnel to make it happen. So devise a defense and get the personnel on the defensive line to stop this play. Simple as that. So like I was saying about mobile quarterbacks, right? You got a mobile quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, right? A Jalen Hurts. That is a legal part of football, right? Quarterbacks can run outside of the pocket, and if they don't see anything, they can run for first downs, right? It's not an illegal play. So what do teams do within their division? They draft or they trade for athletic defensive ends to combat a mobile quarterback. Same thing. Get the personnel to stop what the offense is doing, right? So that's how I look at the tush push. It is a genius play. The Eagles have mastered it. Other teams have tried to duplicate it, and they can't get it right. We saw the Bills try it in the playoffs. Didn't work out as well because the Eagles actually get personnel specific to this play. If it's a second and two, a third and one, everybody knows what they're going to, and they get the first down majority of the time. But they have the personnel in place. Even with Jason Kelce retiring, they still had a backup to Jason Kelce come in at center and learn how to do it. It looked a little nasty the first couple weeks, but obviously with practice, if you look at the tush push in week 1, 2, and 3, and then you look at it in week 16, 17, 18, looks totally different, right? Because they practiced the play and it got better, right? Saquon Barkley figured it out because he's one of the back men pushing. So it's an offensive play. They have the right personnel and they make it work. Now, devise a defense with the right personnel to jump the play, don't get offsides, and then stop the play from happening. Same thing. So that's how I feel about it. But I'm not surprised NFC teams are crying about it because they got to get through the Eagles in order to get to a Super Bowl. So there's that. But when it comes to NFL rules, you need at least 20 teams, I believe, to get a rule changed. And so they're at 16 now. They're going to table it until May. I'm assuming they're waiting until after the NFL draft, which is at the end of the month, and then they revisit it. Hopefully, I think they keep it. Hopefully, they keep the tush push in the NFL. I don't want them to ban it. It's a great play. It works. Figure out how to beat it. I'm not one for excuses. Get it done. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. If they should ban it or not, I think they should keep it. But then also the first down marker. So they changed that rule. That rule will be in effect this season. Basically, instead of bringing the chain gang out to measure for first downs, they're going to use 8K video. So on the screen, they're going to digitize and use video for any of those short down and distances. Wherever the ref places the ball on the field, they will use video to determine if it's a first down or not. And the chain gang running out to the field and measuring will be a secondary option. I believe the reason they're doing this is to speed up the game. The chain gang takes a long time, get out to the field, measure all these things, running back and forth. They feel like if they can get it digitally, that would make the game go a lot smoother. I used to, when I was in college, my first year of college for work study, I actually was part of the chain gang. Shout out to my boy Jerry. We both did it. It was fun for us. We was on the visiting side. We used to talk trash. So we liked doing the chains, moving them down the field. It was fun. But they're getting rid of that, and they're going to try out this video thing. So we'll see how that works. The cool thing about like baseball, for example, is when new rules get implemented, they have a league. They got AAA, single A. They can go into minors and try these things out and see if they work before they move them up to Major League Baseball, like the pitch clock, the bigger bases, things like that. They're able to innovate down at that level and bring it up. The NFL doesn't have anything like that where they can innovate at a lower level and use it in their farm system before bringing it up. So we'll see what this replay thing does, if it makes sense, and see how it works out. So segueing from the rules changes in football, and since I kind of hint on baseball, that's going to be the next thing I'll talk about with the torpedo bat. Okay. Have y'all seen the torpedo bat? Looks kind of weird, but you kind of can't really see it when you're watching a baseball game. To the naked eye, it's kind of hard. But if you actually go online and look at the difference between a torpedo bat and a regular bat. So for those of you who are like, Jay, what the hell are you talking about? What's a torpedo bat? All right. So opening day was this weekend, right? And the New York Yankees hit 15 home runs in 3 games over the weekend, beating the Milwaukee Brewers. 9 of those home runs were by players using torpedo bats, okay? So what a torpedo bat is, and shout out to the person that actually invented the torpedo bat. His name is Aaron Leanhart. He was an MIT professor, and now he's like an offensive strategist or a field coordinator in Major League Baseball. I think he's down in Miami with the Marlins now. But with the Yankees, they have players who hit the ball more in the middle of the bat, right? I wish I had a bat to show y'all kind of what I'm illustrating. But in the middle of the baseball bat, traditionally, it's a little bit thinner than the top of a baseball bat, right? It gets wider. So what players are starting to allude to is that they hit the ball a little bit more in the middle of the bat. So what Aaron invented basically was it's called a torpedo bat. Now, it looks like it's a standardized bat from the base of it, and then it comes up and it almost looks like a bowling pin upside down, right? So basically what that means, more of the wooden mass of the bat is in the middle of the bat as opposed to the top. Because players are hitting the baseball more with the middle of the bat, they're putting majority of the mass there. Now, is this illegal? It's not illegal. It follows the same regulations in terms of length and diameter of a bat, of the way the bat is supposed to be. So it's following all regulations. It's just they put more mass in the center of the bat as opposed to the tip or the end of the bat. I think it's genius, right? So players are getting more contact. They're hitting the ball further. As you can see, a prime example of what the Yankees did over the weekend. Ellie De La Cruz for the Cincinnati Reds had a couple home runs the other day. He used a torpedo bat, but your superstars haven't really gotten to it yet. Aaron Judge doesn't need it. He hit 3 home runs over the weekend using his standard bat. He doesn't want to change his swing. He doesn't want to change his mojo. Baseball players are very superstitious, and what he's got working is working for him. So Aaron Judge is still there. Shohei Ohtani is still using a regular bat. So like the tush push, people are asking, should this be banned? Is it illegal? So that's kind of what I want to know, what y'all think about the torpedo bat. Now, it's been successful. Certain players use it, and I think it's fair. I think it's legal. Again, if it's within the confines of the game and it's innovative, you got to leave it alone. It's not hurting anybody. It's not like it's a cork bat, right? Which cork bats are illegal and are banned. And that's when they would make the insides of the bat a little more hollow and put corks in them. But a cork bat is lighter, so you can swing it a lot faster, get to the ball a little quicker with the pitches. The torpedo bat is the same weight. It's just the weight is distributed elsewhere, right? It's all wood. So I think it's genius. Whoever was able to, Aaron Leanhart was able to figure it out. And they're probably selling these bats now. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's very innovative. Innovation is what you need in sports. And you win these games in the margins. And you even heard Aaron Boone, the manager, talk about that in the press conference. We talked to our players about what are some things that we can do to get better within the margins. Personally, I think they should work on their field and their defense because that's what got exposed. But offensive baseball is great for the game. They're running up the score, which is what everybody wants to see. And I love that baseball is being innovative and finding more offense. And if this helps, then it's a great addition to the game. I don't see anything illegal about it. Obviously, there's going to be some mixed reviews. Some players or some fans, even some owners will be like, why are they allowing this to happen? The bat looks weird, yada, yada, yada. But it's legal for everybody to use. It's not steroids. It's not a corked bat. It's not pine tar, right? Throughout history, everybody has tried to win in the margins and try to find ways to manipulate the game and not necessarily make the game better, just find ways to get an edge on another team, banging on trash cans, stuff like that. This is wide open. It's innovative. It's science. And you basically just change the mass and the position of where you put the wood in the bat, and it stays within the confines of the rules. Again, the length and the diameter of the bat don't change. So I think it's a brilliant idea. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Do you like the torpedo bat? Do you like the idea of the torpedo bat, or should they go back to making everyone play with the standardized baseball bat? All right. Again, we are on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night, and then you can also catch the audio on all platforms that allow you to listen to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, real talk, unbiased takes. All right. Let's switch to this. March Madness. We said we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about the Final Four. So we're going to start with the ladies, and I'm going to talk about who I have winning these Final Four games and winning a national championship, because the next time that we're on next Wednesday, we will already have crowned a national champion. So I'm going to predict who I think is going to win on men and women's side and why. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't fill out a bracket, so I can't show you like I'm going to show you the men's bracket. I didn't fill out a women's side bracket. So the Final Four, we have Texas and South Carolina play against each other, and then UCLA and UConn. The first matchup, I'm going to go Texas, South Carolina. They are playing again for the fourth time this year. They're in the same conference. They played each other 3 times already. South Carolina's beat them twice by an average of 18 points. So pretty handily. I don't know if Texas can match up with them. South Carolina plays really good defense. They got great shooters. I'm taking South Carolina to win this matchup again. I just think the stage, it's a big stage. And in the Final Four, there's a lot more media. There's more eyes on you. There's more people at the game. It's the biggest stage of these players' lives. And experience, I think, is going to have a lot to do with this Final Four, particularly on the women's side. Dawn Staley being in her 5th Final Four in a row, winning a defending national champ. Her players have been there. They understand the moment. They've beaten Texas twice. The one time Texas beat them, it was a very close game. I think they won by 4 points. And the last time they played in a championship was in the SEC, and South Carolina beat them by 19. So I feel like all the momentum is with South Carolina. They have pressure, but they are used to having the pressure. This team has played in this setting before, and Texas hasn't. I think South Carolina gets the coaching nod, the experience nod, the wins-loss column. They beat them there, and Texas may be a little upset they didn't get the number 1 seed in a SEC tournament over the coin flip. They still met up in a final and got a chance to settle it there, and they didn't get the job done. Kind of like what UCLA did with USC. USC got them, but then in the Pac or the Big Ten championship game, UCLA got their revenge. Texas had a chance to do that, and they didn't come through. So I'm taking South Carolina to win this matchup in the Final Four and get to a final game over Texas. More experience, blew them out twice this year, and Dawn Staley just knows how to coach in these games in big moments. I think this moment is too big for Texas. So I'm taking South Carolina. Then on the other side, UCLA, UConn. kind of similar feelings about experience. Gino Auriemma is Mr. Final Four. When it comes to the women's side, they have been running through teams in this tournament. I think I don't think UCLA, again, the experience, the bright lights may get them. They do have a 6'7" monster, Lauren Betts. Shout out to her. She is one of the best players in the country. She's been carrying this team all year. I just feel like Paige Beckers and Gino Auriemma on a mission. This is her last year. They want to get to a final, and they are one step closer than they were last year to getting there. So I got them beating UCLA in this Final Four matchup. And at 7.5-point favorites, even Vegas is telling you they got UConn winning this game. They have been beating people left and right all the way all season through this tournament, through the Big East. I think this is their time. And I got South Carolina versus UConn in the ultimate national championship. This is going to be a monster national championship. Two great coaches, championship coaches. Dawn Staley making South Carolina a historical program. UConn already there. It looks like Dawn Staley is about to become the Pat Summitt to Gino Auriemma when it comes to SEC, running that conference, getting the national championship games. Dawn Staley is becoming the next Pat Summitt. And I think this is probably their first of many meetings in a national championship. And I got to take UConn. I got to go with UConn. I know South Carolina is trying to defend a national championship. They faced off against each other earlier in the season, and South Carolina got beat by damn near 30. So it's the same thing we talked about on the men's side when everybody was talking about Arizona and Duke and that narrative. And it's like, y'all don't remember that Duke beat them in Tucson, and we're going to pretend like both teams didn't get better and Duke didn't get better. And obviously we saw the result of that, right? I feel like the same thing's going to happen here. South Carolina may have gotten better, but UConn also got better too. They played more games just like South Carolina did. So I think Paige Buckers puts her name in the conversation as one of the best UConn women's basketball players of all time. You can't do that at this university unless you win a national championship. Diana Taurasi, Stewie, Swin Cash, Tina Charles, right? The list goes on and on. Sue Bird, Maya Moore. Like, you have to put your name to be in that category. You got to get a national championship. She doesn't have one. She had injuries early in her career. What better way to cap off her career than winning a national championship and going on to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft? I think they get it done. My pick for the women's national championship is UConn. I got them beating South Carolina. All right. On the men's side, right? So we'll put that bracket up because we actually did it. Now, just like last week, I showed y'all my Sweet 16, and I showed you I had 9 out of the Sweet 16 in that bracket. The Elite 8, you can see the highlighted bracket here. I got all 8 of my Elite 8 right, and then I got 3 of the Final 4. So I picked Auburn, and I picked Florida. I actually picked Tennessee to beat Houston. It didn't happen, and then Duke. So 100% on the Elite 8, and then we got 3 of the Final 4. So let's talk about who we got winning these games. Okay, Auburn versus Florida. Now, they're meeting for the second time this season. Florida actually got Auburn in Auburn. So that was a good win. I think that's kind of what kicked off Florida building this momentum to get to a national championship game. Great offensive team. Walton Clayton Jr. is looking like a baby Steph Curry in this tournament. Great score. Florida is 2.5-point favorites. And that might have something to do with Janai Broome being hurt. If y'all watched last week, the Elite 8, hurt ankle, hurt elbow, came back, had a little Willis Reed moment, hit a 3, lifted his team up. But we all know when it comes to injuries, you got a lot of adrenaline in the game. Now you got to sit and try to get that healed up for a week. And we'll see if he's 100%. But I think the momentum that Florida has right now, I'm going to go ahead and take Florida to win this game and get to a final. So give me Florida beating them. And anytime you're shooting like he is, like Walter Clayton Jr. is, and how hot he's been, and this team is underrated defensively too. They showed that against Texas Tech. They can go on a run like this, down 10, and then just exploded and took a lead. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Florida Gators to get to a final. On the other side, we got Duke and Houston. Now, Houston is the best defensive team in college basketball, right? They give up 58, 59 points a game. But I don't think they've seen a team like Duke. This will be the best basketball team that they've played against, right, this season. Not only is Duke one of the best defensive teams in the country, they are one of the best offensive teams in the country, all right? They're bigger than everybody. They are athletic, long. They play defense with discipline, and that's one of the hardest things to do in college basketball is get young players to commit on the defensive end. John Shire has found a way to do that. Arguably one of the best individual defenders in the country is Cooper Flagg. They will have the best player on the court. So I have to take Duke to win it. And think of it this way. They just played an SEC team in Alabama that made 25 threes the game before, right? An NCAA record. They held them to 8 for 32 from the three-point line, 25% from three because of the size. Houston is not a very big team. If y'all go back a couple weeks ago and listen to how I talked about Houston, I like this team. They play bigger than they are, but they're one of the last teams in the country in rebounding, scoring, and assists. They're just a great defensive team. They got some guys that can make shots, but they're undersized. They don't rebound. And Duke does all of those things well. So when you got 7-footers coming off the bench, your best player is 6'9", 6'10". Your point guard, both your guards are 6'5" and up. Con Knipple 6'7". I think the size will just be overwhelming. It'll wear them down. So I'm taking Duke in that Final Four game. So then we got Duke versus Florida in the national championship. Again, what Walter Clayton Jr. is doing now, Duke has seen before. I think that will be the difference in the Final Four is these teams have not seen Duke before. They've not played against a team like this with the size, the athleticism, the defense, the scoring, the shooting, right? We got a good mix of leadership and, older players. Sion James, a fifth year. You got Tyrese Proctor, who's been here before, made it to an Elite Eight last year with the youth of a Cooper Flagg and a Con Knipple pros, right? If you look at all four of these teams, there are more NBA players on the Duke side. There's more length. There's more athleticism. So it's just clear to me that Duke is going to win this national championship against Florida. I'm not saying there's going to be blowouts, but I feel like the defense is going to be the deciding factor for Duke. On that end of the floor, to have these young guys committed on the defensive end and using their size and length to just basically overpower these two teams that they'll play in this Final Four. I'm taking Duke to win a national championship. John Shire to be the first coach ever to win a national championship as a player, then coach his alma mater in his third year, get a national championship, the 6th national championship for the Duke Blue Devils. So that's who I'm taking. All right. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Who will win a national championship? On the women's side and on the men's side, I have UConn Huskies winning it on the women's side, and I got the Duke Blue Devils on the men's side. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, and let me know what y'all think about those picks. And tell me, if you can't just say who you got winning the national championship. Give me an explanation as to why you think that will happen. All right, we got the Final Four for the men's side on Saturday, and then the women's on Sunday, and then the men's national championship Monday, women's Tuesday, and then Wednesday we will discuss the results. All right, so y'all let me know what y'all think. Cool. So staying on the basketball tip, but we're moving to the NBA. Now we're going to talk about some of the sleeper teams that I have, right? And it's actually really just one. I really only have one sleeper team to talk about in the NBA playoffs. Playoffs are coming in a couple weeks. Like I said, we got about 6-7 games left. And as it stands, I'm talking about the standings as of yesterday, right? Because games are going on as we speak that could change positioning. So we're going off of last night, Tuesday. I really don't have a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference. I feel like the Eastern Conference, the seeding where it stands now, the higher seeds will win. Cleveland's going to get out the first round. You got Boston at the 2 seed, the Knicks at 3, the Pacers coming out of nowhere, having a great second half of the season, moved to the 4 seed, Detroit at 5, Milwaukee at 6. I feel like the Pacers are going to beat Detroit in the first round matchup. I think it'll be a very scrappy, tough series. The Pacers and Pistons have a history, but the Pacers are the better team. They've beat them 2 out of 3 times this year, 7 out of the last 10 times they played. So I'm going with the Pacers. The 3-6 matchup, no Damian Lillard with Milwaukee. I think the Knicks get them. They got the home court advantage. I can see that series going 6 games maybe, but I'm going to take the Knicks to win that. Nobody's beating Boston in the first round. I think the 7 seed is the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not seeing that happen. And then you will probably get a rematch of the playoff series last year with Cleveland and Orlando, right? The way Cleveland looks now, they look 10 times better than they did last year. Orlando took a step back, so I don't see any surprises in the East. But I just wanted to lay out the standings as of yesterday. The sleeper team that I see, though, is actually in the Western Conference, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves. That is my sleeper team. They have a path where they can get to a Western Conference final. All right, hear me out. As it stands as of yesterday, they were the 7th seed, right? If the seeding stays where it's at, they would play the Houston Rockets in the first round. A very young, inexperienced Houston Rockets team going against a veteran-laden team with a superstar in Ant Edwards that has been to a conference final already. So they know what it takes to play and get to the third round of the playoffs. I don't think they need home court advantage to beat this young team. I think they can go on the road and win a playoff game. They've done it before. I don't know if Houston can go on the road and win a playoff game. Young teams typically need their home fans, and they play better at home, role players especially. With a veteran team like Minnesota and the coaching, I think they can get past the 2 seed, and it won't really even feel like much of an upset, to be honest. I think more people will probably lean towards Minnesota winning that first round matchup. Then your second round matchup will probably be the winner of the 6-3, right? Because the 3 would play 2 if the seeds are higher, or if the higher seeds win. So now you would get a Denver matchup because Denver's a 3 seed. And I think Denver can beat Golden State. They don't match up well with – Golden State doesn't match up well with Denver. So they have no answer for Jokic. They have no answer for Jamal Murray. So I would take the Denver Nuggets beating Golden State. And then you got Minnesota and Denver. This is a very interesting matchup, okay? If you've been watching basketball, if you've been watching the NBA for the last couple seasons, Minnesota has Denver's number. The Western Conference is strictly about matchups. Throw the seeds out the window, right? Aside from OKC, who's dominating the Western Conference, I think the second seed is like 14 games behind them. They've been dominant, right? 2 through 8 is all about matchups. That's why a lot of these teams are jockeying for position to get to a place where they match up well. And this is nothing new, right? The Grizzlies did it years ago when they wanted to match up against Tim Duncan and the Spurs, Zebo, the grandfather, all of them wanted to match up purposely with the Spurs because they felt like they had a better matchup and they beat them. So the We Believe Warriors did it to the Dallas Mavericks, the 1-8 matchup. So it's happened before. This year, I think, is paramount to get a good matchup. And I think this Denver-Minnesota matchup, if it happens, Minnesota has the upper hand. They have been beating them all season, last season, in the playoffs last season. I think that is a matchup nightmare for the Denver Nuggets. They have no answer for Naz Reid at the stretch 5, right? Rudy Gobert might not play much. He'll be a rim protector, but Jokic can exploit that matchup, but Naz Reid always exploits the matchup against Jokic. They have no answer for him. They have nobody to guard Anthony Edwards. Jamal Murray is too small, and you can put Mike Conley Jr. on him. He won't neutralize Jamal Murray, but he's older, savvier, and he knows how to play, so he can play well against their guards, Christian Braun and Jamal Murray. I like this Minnesota matchup. If they get them, Julius Randle is another piece that you have to account for. He's got a full season under his belt with the T-Wolves. So look out for that sleeper. That would be my sleeper in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. As the seeding is constructed now, the Timberwolves are at the 7. If they stay at the 7 seed in the playoffs, they have a track where they can actually get to a Western Conference final as a 7 seed. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If y'all have any other sleeper teams, I don't consider the Lakers a sleeper team because honestly, I don't have them getting out of the next round. If they beat the Grizzlies at the 5, they got to go play OKC, and they cannot beat Oklahoma City. I don't care what y'all say about veterans and LeBron and Luka know how to win, blah, blah. I don't care what you say. The Thunder are the better team. They're the more dominant team defensively. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which they have no answer for, right? And you got Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein. The size, the Lakers are too small. The OKC Thunder's defense is number 1 in damn near every category. So I don't think they're a sleeper at all. They're going to fall where they need to fall. I can see Golden State getting beat in the first round. If the Clippers get that 8th seed, they obviously will get the Thunder. I take the Thunder in that series as well. So that will probably be a good game. It'll be a good series because you still got to account for Kawhi and James Harden. That's no slouch. But I feel like OKC is just a better basketball team. And so they'll win the games. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Are there any other sleepers I'm forgetting about? I'm not worried about the other play-in teams, not in the Eastern Conference. I think the East is set up the way it is. I think the higher seeds advance all the way till we get to a conference final maybe. But the West is going to be interesting. And where it's seated now, where it's presently constructed, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves as my sleeper team. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Again, you can always comment below, and you can always subscribe to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast on YouTube and Rumble and all other platforms you like to listen to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. Real talk, unbiased takes. Okay. Before we get up out of here, you know we always hit y'all with that 2-minute warning. So we're going to go ahead and dive in with growing your relationships. Now, this is all types of relationships, whether it's your significant other, whether it's family, whether it's friends, work, any type of relationship you have with others. Focus on growing those relationships. And the way to do that is simple, right? Easier said than done, but it's a simple saying. Once you realize, or once you start focusing on what you can bring to a relationship as opposed to worrying about what you're getting out of the relationship, then you'll be able to grow it, right? For example, if you're at work, whatever job you have, if your main focus is what I'm going to get paid or what the benefits look like, or, you know, what can this company do for me, as opposed to looking at it from that point of view, look at it to how can I help this company grow? What can I bring? What are my attributes that I can bring to the table to this company to help it grow? And then you'll start seeing the relationship get better. Then the raises will start coming. Then you'll start getting recognized for the things you do for a company, typically. So put that into your other relationships too. Start pouring into it. If you stop worrying about what's in it for me and start worrying more about what can I bring to the table, you'll see these relationships flourish better. I think that gets lost in society. I think a lot of these young people that are in these relationships are always looking for what somebody can bring to the table. You watch social media, y'all see all these memes or whatever and all these reels, these young women that are talking about, what they want out of a man, what this man needs to bring to me, or what this and that. And they're looking at it the wrong way. And there are men on the other side of that doing that too. What a woman can do for them. Until you stop worrying about what people can do for you and you start worrying about what you can bring into a relationship, whether you're in a relationship now or you're looking for one, focus on what you can bring to the table. That's how a relationship can grow. Or you can realize if it's the right relationship to be in. But a lot of things can get uncovered once you start being selfless in the relationship. That's the bottom line. It's about selflessness, right? Pouring into someone else or to something else and seeing the fruits of that labor, seeing the fruits of that success. You know, trying to grow this podcast, me pouring into it and seeing what I can bring to it instead of saying, what can this podcast bring for me? How many views can I get? How many subscribers can I get? I don't think about those things. Those things come with what I'm pouring into it. So think about that, right? Moving forward, think about any of the relationships, whether it's certain things you're doing, certain goals you have. Think about what you're pouring into those relationships or into those goals and see what you get out of them from that standpoint, as opposed to doing things to see what it can do for you. See what you can do for it. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, Season 7, Episode 9. If you like the new gear, you can click on the QR code below and go to the X-Factor Sports store. We have all sizes, shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. We got new t-shirts coming this summer. So get your orders in early. Make sure you call me or get on my direct message. You can DM, you can get on social media, anywhere, and let me know what your sizes are. We can get you your apparel today. All right. So again, thank y'all, everyone, for tuning into the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. Real talk, unbiased takes. We on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night and all the audio platforms you can catch us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe on all platforms. You can catch the reels throughout the week. We break down the episodes so you guys can kind of see what the takes are like, and then you can comment there, or you can always watch it every Wednesday. This is Jay Mondane signing off. The X-Factor Sportz Podcast, Season 7, Episode 9. We'll see you next week. Peace.